I've been hired as the GM of the New York Islanders, and with the first overall pick of the 2025 NHL Draft, it's up to me to make that decision. Hello everyone, I'm Tristan Folks, and today I will be taking on the role of the New York Islanders GM, which is currently unoccupied. With that being said, I went straight to work on our number one priority of securing the best draft pick for the team, as the Islanders went from 10-1 in the NHL Draft lottery. The three prospects I'll be looking at are James Higgins, Michael Misa, and Matthew Schaefer. We'll go over each player one by one, and I will also discuss the current situation of the team and where each player currently fits. Beginning with James Higgins. Higgins is a center from Hauppauge, New York, weighing at 176 pounds with a height of 5'11", who shoots on his left. He's been a lifelong New York Islanders fan. He recently won gold for the USA U20s at the World Juniors and was the 7th highest scorer in that tournament. In the NCAA at Boston College, he was third on the team in points, only behind current NHLers Ryan Leonard and Gabe Perreault, who are both 2 years older than him. His rank on average is the number 3 prospect. His style of play is a two-way center who can make plays and is a very effective skater who can score goals with a great shot. He also has a great vision of the game, both offensively and defensively. His size results in him struggling as a physical player and needs to build strength and makes questionable decisions at times when passing and holding off on shots, which has resulted in dangerous turnovers and somewhat of a lack of goals in return. He could be a valuable asset when killing penalties and his passing on the power play due to his vision. I suspect his best situation on the Islanders is being a second line center currently, with the potential of being on the first line. The next player we will go over is Michael Misa. Misa is a center who can also play left wing from Oakville, Ontario. He weighs 185 pounds with a height of 6'1" as a left-handed shooter. He is the captain of the Saginaw Spirit this season, the OHL. His brother Luke was drafted by the Calgary Flames in 2024 and plays in college for Penn State. He did not receive a call to Canada for the World Juniors notably, yet he led the OHL in points while being second in goals and fourth in assists during the regular season, which has him ranked the number 2 prospect on average. His style of play is an offensive forward who is a playmaker and a high-speed skater who can use his speed to his advantage if production is not going his way. He has the best pure skill in the draft and has great hockey IQ, including a great vision. He knows how to dodge hits and get around defenders with his speed as well. He carries everything you want in a forward, as he's heavily engaged always, and he tries to make a positive impact on the ice, as he is great on both special teams when it comes to power plays and penalty kills. Due to the current state of the Islanders, he best fits as a second line left winger or center, with the potential of being on the first line on the left wing, most likely due to the center depth. Lastly, we move on to Matthew Schaefer. Schaefer is a left-handed defender from Hamilton, Ontario. He is one of the youngest players eligible for the draft and is 6'2" at 183 pounds. He was on a roll and was on pace for 28 goals, 60 assists, with 88 points and a plus 84 until he broke his collarbone in the second game at the World Junior for Canada's U20 team. He did not return for the remainder of the season, but is expected to be 100% by the NHL Scouting Combine. He is rated as the number 1 prospect on average. His style of play is a two-way defenseman who is an extremely fast skater for his position and is effective up and down the ice. His skating helps him possess the puck from the defensive to offensive zone and can take over a game in a very positive manner. He has an elite hockey IQ at a very high speed and is able to read plays and understand the game. It also benefits him when forechecking, closing in on opponents, and understands the neutral zone extremely well. He can also quarterback a power play and create those scoring chances and makes players better around him, and is also very solid on the penalty kill. For the Islanders, his top potential is a first-line defenseman on the left side and where he'd likely fit. Alright, real quick, we're going to talk about 3 NHL players that are active, and we're going to compare them to each prospect, which I'll be very vague on. James Higgins compares to the players of the like of Jack Hughes at best, Patrick Kane, who he resembles his game from, and Clayton Keller to what I think describes his traits and projected stats in my opinion. Michael Misa compares to Mitch Marner based on their game the most, Connor McDavid when it comes to speed and skating, and John Tavares on vision and IQ, as both were granted exceptional statuses in the OHL. Matthew Schaefer compares to Miro Heiskanen on offensive potential, Cale Makar when it comes to skating and with the puck, and Jake Sanderson when going from defense to offense. We've talked about the prospects. Now we're going to talk about the New York Islanders as a team. They finished 23rd in the NHL, missing the playoffs by 9 points. The Islanders were ranked 28th in goal scorers and 21st in goals conceded, having a minus 36 goal differential, ranking 25th in the NHL. Notably on special teams, the power play was 31st with a 12.56% conversion rate, with penalty kills also 31st at a percentage of 72.22%. You can argue special teams was the reason that the Islanders did not make the playoffs. I don't know if that makes up 9 points, but having a penalty kill like that will kill you more than not. I know they've been injured too. Their leading point scorer offensively was Bo Horvat, with their leading goal scorer being Anders Lee. Noah Dobson was their leading goal scorer and point scorer defensively. And then for goaltending, they had Alex Sorokin. The three things I want to point out is Barzal was injured a lot of the season. He only played 30 games, so he needs to be healthy next season. There was no 30 goal scorers on this team the previous season, and Sorokin was overworked significantly due to injuries of other goalies, so he cannot get that much workload like that ever again. That was unacceptable in my opinion. I thought he did pretty good, but you could tell he was getting overworked. Looking at the New York Islanders 2025 projected lineup, excluding unrestricted free agents that were the Islanders in 2025, this is what it looks like. Free agency could also hurt this team this season, but especially next season. Currently, there's a solid first line pending Barzal is healthy and back to his true self alongside Bo Horvat and Anders Lee, with a decent second line of Maxim Splakov, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and Simon Holmstrom. The bottom six could use a lot of work as Duclair has not been good enough. I need more down there in general. On the defensive end, I'd completely agree this is not a bad core all with two shutdown defenders on the second line, notably Polak and Pivic, and two-way forwards on the first line, Noah Dobson, notably who is alongside of Alexander Romanov. The third line also isn't bad, but Scott Mayfield may be on the decline and could be on the trade deadline. It will extremely hurt if Kyle Palmieri heads out to free agency, which sounds very possible. And Tony DeAngelo very well will continue to be a journeyman around the NHL. Captain Anders Lee and Jean-Gabriel Pageau are free agents in 2026 who can decide to walk, which would leave massive holes in this team. There's a lot of restricted free agents due for contracts this season. Maybe you decide to trade a couple of them or just not offer a tendering offer to those who won't fit in. The Islanders have $28.3 million to spend this upcoming offseason. Our prospect pool features more forwards, and I wouldn't be surprised if two of them break into the team this year. The first one is left winger Cole Yzerman, who I had the opportunity to see play at the NCAA Frozen Four final for Boston University. I thought he was excellent and stood out the most to me on the ice, minus losing that game to Western Michigan, who I'd try to sign to an entry-level contract after his sophomore season. The other forward is center Calvin Ritchie, who played 7 games for the Colorado Avalanche last season before returning to the Oshawa Generals, meaning he did not burn the first year of his entry-level contract, which is also positive for development. The top prospect as a defender is Neve Velu, who is left-handed and committed to Cornell University after playing the USHL. It should take at least a couple years to develop in the NCAA, in my opinion, if not 3 years. Based on the current projected lineups, I'll go over the potential problems with each player getting drafted on this team. For Higgins, due to the amount of center depth on the Islanders currently, with Horvat and Pageau notably, it'd be hard for Higgins to fit in and find a role, which could hurt his development. For Misa, once again, due to the center depth, Misa would likely have to shift to being a left winger and have competition from Cole Yzerman, who is more NHL ready now in my opinion, and then you have the captain Anders Lee. And for Schaefer, the Islanders don't look bad defensively on paper at all, which could make it hard for him to fit in immediately. And they have young defenders on the roster as well as a mix of long-term veterans. Now I'll discuss examples of problems seen in the past with forwards. The New York Rangers will be a topic of note, which is an odd coincidence being a rival of the Islanders. We're going to talk about 2 draft picks, and at that time, I did not see this team as a rebuild. Alexis Lafreniere was drafted first overall in 2020 with his career best season in 2023-2024, scoring 28 goals, 29 assists, 57 points, and a +2. 5 years later, it will look like he'll now get his first opportunity at being a first liner consistently. His previous years being behind players could be what hurts him reaching his peak. Kaapo Kakko was drafted second overall in 2019 with his best career season being in 2022-2023, scoring 18 goals, 22 assists for 40 points, finishing with a +12. He was traded to the Seattle Kraken during last season. He also dealt with having to be behind other players throughout his career and being dropped down the depth chart, and he is now getting his chance to play in Seattle, which is currently rebuilding. On the other hand, lately, two-way defenders have been on the rise since 2017, which is a big positive. Two-way defenders drafted in the top 5 have been big hits for the most part. In the past, it has been harder to scout defenders, as the NHL requires more speed and scoring from defenders as well. It makes two-ways more of a must in the NHL, honestly, who can be effective on the power play as well as their 5-on-5 play. 5 players to note that are striving or Bowen Byram: Rasmus Dahlin, Miro Heiskanen, Cale Makar, and Owen Power. In the past, it was easy for a defender not to pan out, whether it was coaching, state of the team, or that player has one bad season. Defenders can be hard to develop compared to forwards as well. 3 defenders drafted since 2009 that have been in the top 5, who have lived to their potential, in my opinion, are Aaron Ekblad, Victor Hedman, and Morgan Riley. Now, as the GM of the New York Islanders, I ended up hiring a couple of assistant GMs to help me out, and they shared their thoughts after I showed them all this information, and they'll share what they think.
I believe we should select Michael Misa. Although the number 1 consensus pick in this year's draft is Matthew Schaefer, I believe we don't necessarily need another franchise defenseman. I feel like Noah Dobson could easily fit that role after he had a tremendous season 2 years ago. I know last season he didn't have the best year, but it was still pretty solid, and he's due for a contract as an upcoming RFA. We also have Romanov that needs another contract as an RFA, and then we also have Pelech and Pulak that are also locked up long term. So I feel like our top 4 is pretty set for now, and I feel like Michael Misa could boost our offense and give it what it needs. JG Pageau right now at the second line center, he could be honestly slotted down to the third line center. He had an okay year, but he only has 1 year left on his contract, and he's honestly pretty old. Bo Horvat can stay on the first line center, and then Misa can just slot right there, right behind him, and he'd be perfect fit at the number 2 center. He was a winger 2 years ago, but he moved to the center spot this year. He led the OHL in points. He was second in goals, with not that much depth around him besides Zane Perrick on the defensive end. So I think that Michael Misa could easily be a game changer for us in the way that he just is a huge playmaker, can do it all, and he'd be a perfect fit for us. And for Matthew Schaefer, he is a very talented defenseman. However, he didn't really come onto the scene until this year, and he only played in a handful of games due to injury. The amount of games he's played, we don't have enough of a sample size to really determine whether or not he can be really a true franchise defender for us.
I'm going to say Hagen should be the first pick for the Islanders, simply being, of our 3 options that we have here, Schaefer got injured at the World Juniors, and because of it, he unfortunately only had a small sample size of games played, so we unfortunately are still awaiting to see his full potential as a player. Me says nothing against him. It really simply goes to, in this case, for the tiebreaker, the story with Hagen simply being American, lifelong Islanders fan. He's probably going to stay there for life if he gets the chance to. We rarely get American first overall picks. I think this would be a great fit, perfect timing. The loyalty is what is the tiebreaker. Not saying Misa's not a loyal person, I don't know, but he ain't a lifelong Islanders fan like Hagen's is.
You've heard their responses, and personally, I agree with them as they're not wrong at all about anything they said. Since we all decided on different players, as I was leaning towards Schaefer, we ended up coming to a second discussion, which was more about the state of the team, which I will share now. The New York Islanders are not a rebuilding team at all, but there's a chance things don't go well depending on free agency, with a couple of players probably leaving to try to win now, how the team performs next season, and with the current contract situations going into 2026, when I would not be surprised to continue to see losses to this team of players who want to go play at a contender and win a Stanley Cup at this point in their career. What I anticipate as of now and what I'm planning to strive for, which is what I told them, is I'd be selling at the deadline and very well attempt a rebuild of the team, which it would be a process and likely see a lot of players out the door. But I feel that there are pieces on this team that we can build around and become a force to reckon with in about 5 years and go out and win a Stanley Cup within the next 10 years. A retool, on the other hand, may see this team make the playoffs, which I know that's what the fans want, to see their team compete for a Stanley Cup. But by the time a retool is done, veteran players on this team will be out of their prime and they are aging, and it'll just be a rinse and repeat. It'll be hard, let alone to make the playoffs based on the Metropolitan Division. The Carolina Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils will be top divisional opponents, with the Columbus Blue Jackets on the rise. You also have the Washington Capitals, who are competitive right now, but I expect they will be on the decline. New York Rangers should be just good after the retool that they keep on doing. And then the only teams I feel will be able to compete with the Philadelphia Flyers, who are striving to improve right now as they are currently in their rebuild. And the only team I feel confident we'd be better than is the Pittsburgh Penguins. And we'd probably move on from Patrick Roy, as the coaching pool is wide open right now. Also, I don't see the problem if Matthew Schaefer makes the team in training camp, and if things don't pan out early in the season, or let alone he doesn't make the team during the preseason, we can send him back to the area otters and let him develop his game and come back or arrive to the scene after his OHL season to help him build confidence. You could argue the same for Michael Misa if it came down to it. Higgins could pull the card of not signing his entry-level contract and return to Boston College, potentially. Minus being an Islanders fan at heart. One player I want to compare in a similar situation is Artem Leshonov of the Chicago Blackhawks. Technically, right now this season, he ended up getting an injury before training camp, so he started in the AHL with Rockford. He ends up getting called up to Chicago and develops just greatly. And now he is back with Rockford, actively playing in the Calder Cup playoffs, so good for him. Anyways, with that all being said, we all agreed on a rebuild and selecting Matthew Schaefer with our first overall pick in the 2025 NHL Draft. It'll take time, but Schaefer will be a positive player to help improve the power play and penalty kill, which is a need right now. Be great during 5-on-5 and help the team on their breakouts and possession of the puck. And let alone be a franchise defender with players on the team now he can learn from early in his career. Let's zoom up as we get closer to the 2025 NHL Draft after the NHL Scouting Combine in Santa Clara over their first overall pick. These birds are so obnoxious. Hey Matt, this is Tristan Folks with the New York Islanders. How you doing? We're doing just great here, man. We just wanted to inform you we plan to select you with our first overall pick in the draft. We can't wait to have you here and be a part of this franchise, and the fans will love you. Also, we were going to make sure you have a number well in advance. I assume 48 is what you want? Oh, you said 69? Let's just stick to 48. Is that okay? Yeah, we just don't need a bunch of kids in Long Island wearing number 69 jersey. You know what I mean? I know you've worn it in the past and your teammates said you loved it, but let's not do that again. Well, great talking to you, and we can't wait to see you and your family at the draft. Of course, take it easy. No way that kid just asked me for number 69. that'll conclude this video. I hope you ended up enjoying everything. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think the New York Islanders will do and what will they go with? Will they go for a rebuild or a retool? Who do they ultimately end up drafting? Could the prospect ratings change after the NHL scouting combine? Once again, comment below what you think, and a shout out to my boys helping me out in this video. Feel free to subscribe for more hockey content, and I hope to see you soon.